Hi guys, welcome back to another video today. So I'm going to show you 5 V8 engine cars for £10,000 or less. So these cars I've chosen on practicality, looks for one thing, and just the general V8 roar. I'm a massive V8 fan myself, and I have owned a few V8s in my time, and I plan to buy another one very soon. Possibly one of the cars in this video I'm potentially going to buy, but I'll tell you at the end of the video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the cheapest and go up to the most expensive, being £10,000. I'm also going to show you guys, or tell you guys a little about, the pros and cons of that car. Every car has its problems, but I'm just going to give you some informative information. You have an idea when you're going to have a look. If you're not too sure on the car, always do some research yourself. What we're going to do first is we're going to look at the first one I've chosen on the list. Okay, so the first car I've chosen is a BMW 645 Ci. Let's have a look. So we're going to use eBay to start with. Auto Trade is probably better, but I always find there are cheaper deals on eBay. So let's start with eBay. BMW 645 Ci. I've never actually owned one of these, but I have driven one, and from what I remember, it was a really good car. So let's have a look. So they started to come out in 2004 with a V8 engine, up to about 2006, I believe. I might be wrong, but I think so. And yeah, bang on the money. They start from around £4,500 to £5,000 now, so which is a bargain for a V8 BMW. So let's have a quick look. So this one looks quite nice. The looks are not for everyone. I do know from what Jeremy Clarkson said about it, the rear end and the front end are ugly. When I first saw it, I was quite young obviously at the time, but as I grew up, when I first started to see it on the roads, I didn't quite like it myself. However, it has grown on me over the years, especially when they bought the V10 version, but the V10 will be in a later date, in a later video. So, right, so let's have a quick look at this one. So this is quite a nice colour actually. They came with the 4.4 litre V8s. They've got about 320 horsepower. So quite a lot of power, but that's really nice. But as you can see, it's starting to age, especially with those wheels. You don't tend to see those kind of wheels anymore. It's really nice, quite a nice car. That things to look out for: the V8 isn't as reliable as most V8s on the road. Just be wary when you go and see one. Make sure you give it a bit of a rev. If you can, if it's a private seller, ask them to either they drive it or you can drive it, and just try and in first and second, even up to third. If you hear any knock in, walk away. Simple as that. So yeah, that one is, again, I really like the look of the car. It's grown on me over the years. For £5,000 up to maybe £6,000, if you've got a bit more of a budget, you can get quite a good one. Most of them are now around the 90,000 mile mark. I wouldn't be put off if it was up to 150,000, as long as the service history, it represents it essentially. So long as it's, good service history, yeah, you're in there on that one. Okay, so the next car I've chosen, a lot of you out there, especially the mechanics, are going to be screaming at the screen. It is a Range Rover. Not a new one. It doesn't matter what one, to be fair, because they're all pretty rubbish, but there is one particular one that that sits in my heart, and that is the supercharged V8 Range Rover from 2000. Well, they started in 2006. So let's have a quick look. Right, Rover supercharged should come up. There we go. So let's find. So they started in about 2006. These cars. The engine is phenomenal. I've owned one. It didn't last very long. Not because the engine blew up or anything, it was the gearbox, and I'll go into that in a second. However, right, there's a really nice one here actually. What's that one? So they start from, I've seen a few cheaper ones, but if you want to get something quite good, they start around the £7,000 mark. This one's really nice actually. It looks really clean. Yeah, look at that. It comes with the Brembo brakes as well, you can see there. Really nice wheels. That's quite a clean example, to be fair. There's not many out there at the moment, well, anymore, to be fair with you, that are quite tidy. They've always been abused. People use them off-road or just a generally everyday car and don't tend to look after them. In terms of running costs, well, you don't buy a V8 to save money, let's say that. So the fuel economy isn't great. You will be burning holes in your pockets, but at the same time, you just have to put that aside and enjoy the experience of the car. It is a super fast vehicle for the weight. It's 2.5 ton car. It is quick and it sounds really good though. So yeah, for about £7,000 onwards, you can get a really good one. They come with a 4.2 litre supercharged V8, as I said, with around 380 horsepower, so plenty of power. And again, with the Range Rovers, they're big cars, so there's a lot of space in it. And again, they come with a really nice interior. If you go for the cream interior, it's just a nicer place to be. The blacks tend to look a bit dull now, so I would try and, it depends, whatever your preference is. If you like the darker interiors, go for the darker interiors. So yeah, that is the Range Rover Sport 4.2 litre V8 supercharged. Have a look. Again, you'll probably find some nice ones on Auto Trader, but eBay you'll get the cheaper ones. Okay guys, so the next car is actually one I've never driven before. I plan to buy one at some stage. Again, I would have to just have some money knocking around spare to do it. And that is a B6 Audi S4. And again, a lot of you would probably look going, that's very old, don't chance it. However, it is one of the greatest engines in that car ever made by Audi. Personally, it's a 4.2 litre V8 with 350 horsepower, just slightly under. Again, one of the cars that I think look really nice. Again, they have aged, but I think they've aged really well, in the right colour, that is. So again, let's stick to eBay. Let's have a look. So Audi B6 S4. Here we go. Okay, so they start from around £5,000. However, you know, again, it depends on your budget. A good one will start at about 7,000 to 8,000. It depends if you want one completely standard, or if most people would put the exhausts on now, they tune them up a little bit. In my preference, I prefer to have something untouched, unless it's got some really good paperwork and it's done with really good parts. So if you go and see one, just check the exhaust isn't just been cut the back, it's had a proper exhaust like a Monza or something. Within the engine, it's good enough as it is. Just make sure there's no silly filters changed, no duct tape. It's all done professionally. Most of the time, I think they came with carbon fiber parts in there as standard, but if they've all been taken out and changed for rubbishy bits, just walk away, because you just know it's not been looked after. Here's one here, for example, this, yeah, here we go, a Revo Stage 2, brand new engine. Again, it's that colour that looks really good. That's the colour I would have, in that really nice blue. If it's been looked after, yeah, it's had an exhaust done to it. If it's been looked after, the paperwork shows it, you could take a chance. This one's had, yeah, so I do remember actually the carbon fibre is on its predecessor, which is the RS4. So this came with the black trims, so that's fine. That engine hasn't been touched. That is the standard. That is like the heart of the car. So if you can find one that looks like that, yeah, you're in for the money. And these are also, I think they're going to go up in value at some stage. You don't see many on the road. They are quite reliable if they've been looked after. That V8 engine is pretty bulletproof. The rest of the car itself, you know, as long as it's looked after, the brakes and bits like that, it tends to be okay. Rusting from the bodywork, it tends to be the arches down here, sorry, the side skirts and the arches. But yeah, just things to look out for when you go and buy one. But again, yeah, they start from, here's another one, that's an Estate. I prefer the saloon look, but the Estates tend to be quite popular. But yeah, another car that's really good if you're looking for like an all year round car. And it's quattro, so you've got 4-wheel drive, so you can use it in winter and not worry. That is the S4, the B6, again, one of my all-time greats. Like I said, I've never owned one. I do plan to buy one, so if I ever do, I will also do a video on that and show you guys what to look for and what they can do in terms of speed, shall we say. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, the next car is one of my all-time greats, is a Jaguar XFR supercharged V8. When I saw this on the old Top Gear, when Jeremy Clarkson took it out on the track, it was one of the nicest cars I've ever seen, let alone the sound of it. I've never owned one, I have driven one. I almost bought one recently. I was very close to doing it, but I didn't, because there is another reason I will explain at the end of the video. However, right, let's have a look. So, XFR V8 supercharged. eBay's probably going to go, oh, there we go. Right, so these come with a 5 litre supercharged V8 with 500 horsepower. It's plenty of power. Rear wheel drive only, for anyone that likes to scare themselves, because it is a scary car, especially when you really push it. They start from around I say £8,000. I saw one the other day for 8,000, had some issues. So realistically, you can get them from about 9 to 10,000 for a good one. And they actually do go up to 15,000, to be fair with you, for low mileage ones. So there's one here. This is a private seller. They look really good in black. I'm not too keen on the white colour. I think the blacks just suit the Jaguar, to be fair with you. But this one looks really good. They come with the vents, because it's obviously the supercharged version. The alloy is obviously very standard, but again, you can get them painted. From what I know, they didn't come with any big Brembo brakes or anything like that. I don't know why. They should, but from the experience when I drove one, they are good brakes. Things to look out for on a Jaguar, obviously, is the underneath side. Make sure there's no rust. I was told that quite clearly. If I was ever going to look for one, is look out for rust underneath. They come with an automatic gearbox. Just again, if you go and see a private seller, even if you go to a dealership, to be fair, try and drive one and just make sure there's no clunkiness in the gearbox. They tend to fail if they're pushed too hard and they're not serviced often enough. The V8 is bulletproof. There shouldn't be any problems with the V8. I've not owned one, so I can't tell you guys the long-term effects of one. Again, it's on my list to buy one. But in terms of that, the car is really nice. I do know weirdly in the winter, the screens tend to flicker. They start to get old. Well, they are getting old, but they start to get too old and they start to break. Again, most people would change it for an updated screen. So yeah, it's a really nice car. That again, you can get them. So that's a facelift version here, a 13 plate. If you've got the budget to spend the extra money, that's actually more of an advanced one. That's a limited edition one. I do know the facelift version came in and around 2012/13. So, but if you're looking at the older version, pre-facelift, yeah, I do think the pre-facelift looks a lot better than the facelift. Essentially, I don't know what it is. Some of you probably don't agree. Some of you probably do. It does look good, the facelift version, but I still think for the money, it's the same car. Just go for the older look. So yeah, that's one of my top greatest cars for you guys to have consider about. Again, if you spend about £10,000, you'll get a good one. And they come in a range of colours like black. They come in red actually, which is actually quite nice, especially if the black rims. That's a facelift one there, but preset facelifts, they look better in red. So yeah, that is a Jaguar. That is if you want a big V8 supercharged car with 500 horsepower, that's the one to go for. Okay, so the next car I'm going to show you is one of my all-time great favourites. I know I said that about the Jaguar, but actually this is the #1 of my list. Actually no, it's #2 because I owned recently a V10 BMW M5 and that was one of the best cars I've ever driven. I only drove it probably a day before the engine kind of blew. Well, I don't know what actually happened. It's taken months to try and repair it. I'll talk about that another year because that upsets me. However, the RS4, the B7 version, the 4.2 litre V8, one of the best engines ever made. It's the same engine essentially in the S4, but it's been beefed up from 300 to 400 horsepower. It's had all sorts of little bits done to it. I think generally the car itself looks 100 times better than the S version. So let's have a look. RS4 B7. So these came out from 2006 up to about 2008, I believe. Might quote me, I might be wrong on that one. And they start from around 12,000. However, I have seen a few creep up recently for around the 10 to 11,000 pound mark. That's more likely going to be the soft top version, not the full fat full door. So let's have a quick look. Most of them are going to be the 4-door non-convertibles. So that's a bid. So there's one here for 13,995. So I've kind of gone off the price margin over the £10,000 mark, but I'll explain in a minute why I've done that. This is a private seller. This is probably an estate. So there's the engine. Again, with these cars, the engine is bulletproof. I've heard from most people that own one. I don't know many people that own them, but I've met a few people. They've never had a problem. However, they can fail from head gasket issues. So just get that checked as soon as you buy one, or even before you buy it. Just ask the owner if there's any paperwork for the head gasket. They came with two types of seats. They come with the bucket seats, or they come with the standard, I always call them sports seats. I've been in both cars, or both seat versions, and the bucket seats I didn't like as much. I'm not a bucket seat person. I prefer the comfortable kind of seats, and these ones look very similar to what you get in the M5. So it's everyone's preference. The other ones look better though. So that's the state version. I'm not a huge fan on the state cars, as I've pretty much said. So there's a cabriolet. So yeah, these are actually, thing is, when I did the research on this video, they were a bit cheaper, but recently, I think since the new Grand Tour series came out, when Jeremy Clarkson and all that took out, well, he had the rally cars, he had the Audi, I think they've gone up in price. So yeah, there's not many on the market here. However, I have bought one. I bought a soft top version, and you'll have to stay tuned for the next video on that one. I won't tell you how much I paid for it, but however, I cannot wait to get it. Yes, that one, I have to think about it, because it was just, yeah, it was a lucky find, and I'm very excited. I had to get something, because my M5 went, I had to get something else, something I really wanted, and I really wanted one, so wait till the next video on that one. But yeah, so again, if you look around, shop around, you probably find something online. You can get them for around the 10 to 11,000 pound mark. Again, you're going to have seat problems, as in tears and bits, alloys. It's probably going to have low service history. I always tend to say stay away, but if you get one and you can spend a bit of money on it, and you know, really make it look nice, these cars they are skyrocketing in value. So it's definitely one to consider. When I get mine, I will do a really in-depth video on it, and I'm hoping you guys like the video today, and it's something I thought I'd come up with to give you guys a little bit of information on the kind of cars I've chosen. So yeah, when the when my RS4 arrives, I will do a really good video on it. I'll show you guys everything that I've looked, why I bought it essentially, and anything that's wrong with it, I'll show you, and then we'll probably put right when we get it in the garage. So I hope today's video has been some sort of interest. It's a little bit different. Normally I'm outside driving around in crazy cars. We have got a lot of content upcoming, so you know, stay tuned for all that. There are a lot of videos with different cars coming. It just takes a lot of man hours to film them. So I like to give some informative stuff throughout the period, especially if you guys are looking to find a car to buy. So I'll try and do as much research as I can on other types of vehicles. If you've got anything in mind for the future, or for a future video, just leave a comment below. Please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.